Where were we? We were talking about the faculty of effort. And here I've mentioned a bit on the nature of effort, that the nature of effort, they are supportive on the associated states. It means associated mental states. That is to say, when mindfulness are there, or vitakka or vichara, or whether there are concentration, wisdom. So the nature of this effort is to support it, to support them so that they can able to function, so that they are active, so that they are having the vigor to do their own function. So this is on the wholesome side. On the unwholesome side too, supportive in the sense of they are supporting other unwholesome states to be active, to be vigorous, to be there. If you're anger, that means it's supporting the anger to be there. If it's desire, sensual desire, then sensual desire is being supported. So if we look at effort in that way. But if effort in faculty, and of course when you talk about mental effort here, in the faculties, in the power, mostly when we talk about Buddhism generally, then the effort is connected with the wholesome part of it. The wholesome part of it. So, and also after that, I also mentioned that after when we start to meditate, first week usually it's only about arousing. You make this effort to arouse that mindfulness which is not there in the first place. So you make effort to arouse that mindfulness. So after a week or so, or 10 days or so, then that mindfulness has developed into a certain level, certain degree. And when the mindfulness is more continuous compared with the first week of practice, then subsequent weeks, second week, third week, and so on, it's all about balancing already. It's all about balancing those effort and concentration, because somehow your mind, it's quite strong, powerful, continuous, and at times it's going to fluctuate. So if you do not know how to bring it into its optimum level, to its balanced level, then yogis will face with a lot of problems. Now, let us go to the sharing of screen on the faculty of effort. Okay. Can see, yeah? All right. Good. So, as I said here, when the balance, with the imbalance of effort, when there's too much effort or there's lack of effort. But here our job as a meditator, hopefully, before it reach into restless mind, we already can able to bring it into its optimum level, into its balance level. That's why I put a dash there. So too, when there's lack of effort, we don't want the mind to go into laziness, into indolence, or sloth and torpor, in that sense. But hopefully, if we know how to do it, we can bring it back again to balance again before it touch into all these hindrances. So last week also I mentioned a little bit how we can able to balance those things. And as I said here, look easy. It looks easy, but when you know how to do it, it's just take you a second or two, or all depends. So here, I got a number of things. Maybe it's not the full list, It's not a full list, but whatever that comes out from whatever it is, from my practice. Because when we talk about this balancing of faculties, it's not an easy subject. Of course, you can make it easy in the sense that, okay, this one balance that one, and then kao tim talk over. No, it's not just that. When a yogi in the practice, in the actual meditation practice, then this topic will be very suitable for them, especially when you come into the second week, third week, and so on. So if a number of you has not gone into that long retreat, then it's going to be a bit difficult to know what is going on, because all these things which we're going to discuss later on is everything happen in the mind only. You can't see from outside. So everything happen in the mind. Okay. And also for me, to give a talk on this effort, usually I need the yogis are actually practicing. Right now, I think all of you are not in the full retreat. Maybe a little bit meditation here and there, but you are not in a full retreat. Not in a full retreat. And therefore, sometimes it's also, I need feedbacks from yogis, especially when you go into a retreat and then they have interviews and so on, daily interviews, and then yogis will start to report about their their meditation experience. From there on, sometimes I touch on those subjects which the yogi are going through, and I formulate the talks according to what those yogis are going through on those maybe a day or two of the past, So I can able to bring out those things, and I can able to formulate the talk. Here in this time, I have to dig out everything from my thinking on here. You dig out everything from my thinking in order to share it to all of you. But nevertheless, since I've done it for quite a number of times on this topic, I just took out here and there in order for us to look into it. Perhaps in the past you may have gone through it also, and you do not know what to do with it. Okay, now let's see. Now, when you have too much effort, here the sign of the too much effort is coming in. We don't go directly looking at too much effort, looking at effort itself. As I said many times last week, we look at the signs that's happening in the body or happening in the mind. We don't have to look at effort. We have to look at the signs will do. For example, when you have like too much thoughts, and here, if you have going into too much thoughts, that means you're going into a lot of restless mind already. That means you're going towards that part. But this one starts to have more thoughts. It's different when you are in a state of restless, there's a lot of thinking that's going on, whether it's a specific thinking or specific, that means you're specific, something you haven't finished, and then you keep on ruminating over that particular thoughts again and again, or tomorrow you want to do something and then you start to planning again and again. This is what we call a specific, in the sense that it keep on rolling around that particular topic or particular theme. Or it comes in as random. There's no connection. When there's no connection, it's just jump here and there, all kinds of random thoughts that you do not know even what is it. Sometimes you get up from your sitting, you don't even realize that you don't know. You know that you were thinking a lot, but you do not know what you are thinking. It's just random. So if you go into that particular area, that means your mind is already going into hindrances already, too much hindrances already. Whereas this is when you start to having some thoughts. When you start to have some thoughts. For example, when you start to meditate, when you are meditating, let's say in your sitting, when you watch your in-breath, out-breath, things are going smoothly, rising, falling, going smoothly. And then after that, you begin to notice that these random thoughts are not affecting your noting or your observation of your object, but it's already like happening, hovering around your head, around the chest area. It's like going here and there, a little bit here and there, and it's coming on more frequently. Then that time, that means the energy starts to build up. Your mind can't stay with your object that much already. It's like pulling you a little bit, you noting a bit, pulling you a little bit. So here, that means the effort has gone slightly going up already. Normally this one, the first one, if you are a beginner meditator, usually you are not able to catch the beginning of those thoughts. You only know it when the whole thought's already going into a lot of thinking, then only you realize that you are not able to meditate at that time. But if you are a more long-term meditator, this one, a little bit of thoughts, you know that your mind's already going into slightly too much effort already. The next one is this tension. Now, tension here of the body, or tightness, or pressure, it comes to different yogi have a different signs. But this tension, when it build up, then here also you are unable to notice the object clearly already. That means when you are unable to notice that particular tension, that when you note that tension, your mind starts to jump away, push away, note the tension, it tries to push away. That means the energy is building up at the background and also is building up the tension also. Then, on the other hand, some of the tension that it builds up during your course of your meditation, it may not be too much effort. It's just another mental object or just another unpleasant object. So it's hard to differentiate between when there's too much effort and it causes this tension to build up, or when there's a tension, then your mind is still able to note it. I mean, for me to say it out, to make it clear here, it sounds easy, but actually when you're doing it, it's a very gray area until you get used to it, And then you get used to it. That you know that type of tension, when you notice it, you cannot able to note it clearly what is going on. So we are interested that type of tension. Because this type of tension, there are many yogis in the past, including myself also, that after sometimes 2 or 3 weeks, and because also our nature want to develop, want to go further and so on, we push ourselves. We push ourselves, keep on meditating, walk, sit. Throughout the day, day after day, that energy starts to build up. And somehow or another, that type of tension builds it up until at times it becomes Like for example, for some people, is they carry like a stone in their head. That's what Reverend Sujiva like to use. And for some people, the stone in the head one, for some people is due to too much concentration, and some people due to too much of effort. Sometimes it's like pressure in the head, or sometimes in the pressure in the neck, the pulling in the shoulders, or at your side, at your ribs. Everything is just not right. And it lasts for sometimes it lasts for days. This one. It lasts for days. Now, some yogis, this type of tension, it really lasts for a number of days, and then you find it that it's hard for you to meditate. You can't even have to eat properly. Appetite also not so much, because the tension is always there. You sit also, you cannot able to remain still. Everything pictured because the tension is so much. Then you finally think that, okay, I think enough for meditation already. So you pack your bag and you go back. Okay, go back. All right, no problem. Then you go back because you're not meditating. All the tension starts to disappear, and then you feel good. After some time, you come back. Okay, you say, come back and try again. So after you start with 1 week, nothing much. After second week, third week, then the same tension will come back all over again. Why? All over again, it comes back again. Then you thought that, okay, never mind, you give up. Third time come again. Same thing happened. Why is that so? Because of our habit of doing certain things in a certain way without we realizing it, until it builds it up. Then this whole tension builds up. Now, one of the things that yogis build up on this tension is one of the biggest factor that I know of is they don't balance the sitting and the walking. This is one of the biggest factor. They usually, for most of the yogis, they prefer to sit a lot. They sit and sit and sit. Walking, they neglect the walking. Then just walking just a little bit and sit again, until the body becomes tense up. So tense up until the body is not comfortable, it's not pleasant, it's not relaxed. Then mindfulness, everything cannot come up. Some people give up the meditation because of all this type of tension. And most of us will go through those things. This type of tension, it's strong. It is not going to be easy for many yogis. So in the general aspect, if you want to minimize that tension. I would say minimize is still a lot, You just, when you go into a long retreat also, make sure you do your walking and your sitting in a more or less balance in the manner. More or less balance in the manner. Then you have less problem. Whether you are doing anapana or whether you are doing samatha, or especially when you are doing vipassana. Vipassana, you need a lot of this balance and movement of the body. Too much effort also, that when you sit down, you cannot remain calm and collected. That is also to mean that one of the things is that your noting mind can't stay with the meditation objects. It keep on jumping out. Normally, for example, there are days that you can able to notice your primary objects very clearly. Now you can able to watch it and so on. But this time, when you put your mind there, it already jump off. It not jump off to another meditation object. If it jump off to another meditation object, it is fine. That is not a problem. Your mind is still very much in balance. But this time, it jumps into just don't want to meditate. It jumps into go into thinking a little bit, hearing, opening up the eyes, looking at people, close the eyes again, meditate, and then again, you go all these types of things. You go into the senses, like to hear things, who is doing what. Just don't want to stay. And you want to pull it down, it just want to go up. You just want to come in, you want to go into all the senses and so on. So here, the mind cannot remain calm and collected. The noting mind cannot stay with the object. So here another one is that like too much effort, you start to fidget your body. Initially, you can able to sit still, but after that, a little bit, you're going to push yourself. A little bit, you're going to push to the left, slightly to the right, slightly moving. You move the body a bit, here a little bit, left a little bit, front a little bit, back a little bit. You just want to sit still. That is also meaning that your mind is already going into a bit of restless already. Wobbly walking. Wobbly walking. You see, when your mind is mindful and clear and sharp, even when you are going very slow, you are going very slow in the sense that lifting, pushing, dropping, or more than that, you can able to notice the sensation that is coming out from those steps or from those movements or lifting movement. You can notice it well and clear. Now, even if you are doing it slowly, and because your mindfulness is continuous, then that walking, the body is a very stable walking. No doubt, most of the time is stable, but once in a while, the body may need to readjust, and then somehow you just have a step or two, it is not so balanced or wobbly a little bit. If you have those one, that one is not a problem, because that wobbly happen once or twice, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it happened once or twice, just between between a length of where you start until where you end. That's happened just one or twice or three times. That is not a big problem. Here, when it says wobbly walking, it's like every one or two or three steps that you're already taking, it already starts to your mind. You cannot able even to get the body to remain still or balanced. And then your walking is like you're lifting up halfway, and then you have to put your leg down already very quickly, because you find that your whole body is shaking and so on. That usually in the beginning part of the meditation, a lot of yogis will have those things because the mindfulness is not sharp. But this time, after some time, in the meditation, you may have these things also, although you may able to notice a little bit, but the body is keep on, starts to move here and there, cannot able to be still in this one. So this one, something to do with, all these things is something to do with a bit of too much effort. Too much effort is coming. So if you are not careful with all these small things that's coming up, if you are not careful with those things, then it leads into a lot of, it leads to too much of effort. It leads into too much effort. So what should you do then? What should you do then? Here there's a number of things what we can do, but the principle when we are in the long retreat, the principle is this, is that the whole thing is that either you reduce effort with mindfulness, or you increase calmness or concentration with mindfulness. The mindfulness must always come. Okay? So you reduce effort or you increase the calm with mindfulness. Okay. Now, it all depends on how the yogi is doing at that time. Which one will be a better choice? there's no better choice. Is that you have to feel it at that moment of that walking or that sitting. It may be good for you in that particular sitting, that method to overcome it in that particular sitting. But when you go into another sitting, it doesn't work. No. Then another sitting you try, it work. No, sometimes these things it's not 100% thing. But the principle remains the same. But the method how to do it, now again, that may not be so perfect for all of us. All right? But the principle is this. So when you have too much effort, you always that you have to reduce the effort with mindfulness, or you increase the you increase the calmness, or you increase the concentration with mindfulness. Everything you have to do with mindfulness. Now, take the first one. Noting a wide area, like the whole legs, rather than the primary object, the whole body or the whole leg, rather than the primary object. Here, for example, let's take the walking first. Now, during in the walking, if you find that your tension starts to build up, and at certain times, during in the retreat, that tension is so strong that you can't even do a lifting, pushing, dropping. For some people, not every yogi. For some people, the tension is so strong that they feel very difficult for them to walk properly. Sometimes during in the walking, even the whole hour, they just have to remain relaxed type of walking only for the whole hour. Even you come to the next walking, if you still the tension is still there, you still remain with just one phase of walking only. You don't go into like third phase or even more slower phases. It's just like more of a relaxed walking only. But still with mindfulness. Still with mindfulness. You cannot just walk and then you look here, look there. You go to the garden and so on. Although once in a while it may be helpful. For some yogis, because of too much in the hall sometimes, and certain places the hall is very like you feel very claustrophobic. Some places we have more mirror, not mirror, we have more glass, you can see outside and so on. Some places they don't have much of windows, so it feels very claustrophobic. So some people like to go out a little bit in order to reduce that thing. Now, so when you're going a little bit, when you're going one phase like that, for the whole hour, it's very easy for the mind to fly. The mind to fly into a lot of things. So therefore, at this time, you take the whole body walking. Take the whole body, or you take the whole leg itself, because the whole leg itself is a moving object. So just like right step, left step, right step, left step, right step, or right leg, left leg, right leg, left leg, right leg, left leg. Simple, You don't go in to try to note it very clearly, very sharply. How is it moving? You don't have to worry. Sometimes when you notice this, just right step, left step, or so right leg, left leg, sometimes after you notice, if you keep on noticing it for a while, you may find that even that one phase itself, the right leg and the left leg get its own rhythm, or its own character, its own nature. When you're able to notice those things also, You don't try to make it even, This is the nature of the walking meditation in the one phase. Sometimes the right leg goes a little bit faster. Sometimes the left leg goes a bit slower. And if it happens like that, then so be it. Sometimes the right leg may be a bit lighter, the left leg may be a bit heavier. So be it. Walk in that way. Sometimes when the walking itself, the body may be slanted slightly to the left, but you are not like falling here and there, but you can still able to walk. So if in that way, keep going with the body slightly slanted to the left or right. Slightly slanted, it's not affecting you. So it's perfectly all right. This is how we pay attention with mindfulness on the one face. Even sometimes like your hips are moving. Like when you are moving, the hips are like swaying to the left and right. Forget about the right step, left step. Just aware of the hips are swaying left, right, left, right. That is become a meditation object also. Or sometimes the shoulder itself is moving. You can feel that the shoulder is going forward, back, forward, left shoulder, right shoulder. And you can notice those things. That is also falls under one face meditation. You're not going too slow. And you do that for a whole hour with the one face. Then if you're able to notice these objects, various objects in the various parts of the body, in a wide type of object, not a small compared to our primary objects like in-breath, out-breath, or rising, falling, or just the steps only. But here you are taking a wide object. So here, you reduce the effort. Because if you're going very slow, you increase the effort a lot. So this time, you're just reducing the effort. At the same time, you notice the different aspect of the body. Then you notice that the movement, little bit heavy here, not so heavy there, a little bit swaying here, swaying there. If you take notice of those things, then the mindfulness comes in. You are arousing the mindfulness even in the one face. So that is important for us to understand, because a lot of times when we do one face walking meditation, we just walk up, walk down, kia ki, kia lo, and then that's it. You don't make it a slight effort to bring up that mindfulness to notice the various parts of the body. So it's important that if you want to develop that mindfulness, make sure that those mindfulness it's there. Make sure that the mindfulness is there by noticing the various parts of the body. Then you can do for 1 hour walking meditation. And here it helps you to calm down. It helps you to relax. And usually if you know how to do those things, very quickly the tension starts to disappear. Very quickly. These things, I learned it myself. No teachers taught me how to do it, but they teach me the principle of doing it. So you got to find your way, you got to find your own way. And I find that this thing also very helpful, especially in the walking meditation. Now, even with that, because of that understanding, even in my daily practice of my meditation, before I sit, I do a bit of walking. And sometimes before meditating, the mind is a bit running here and there. So it's the same principle also. I use that to take notice on the wider object of the body. And then slowly, as the mindfulness increases, and then we begin to notice as the mindfulness increases, then the walking begin to slow down, and then it became able to notice more objects in the steps. Then that time we begin to know, we will know that the mindfulness is getting more continuous, more better, more clearer. Then that time one, I could continue the walking, or two, I can go into the sitting. With that mindfulness, I carried over to the sitting. And after that, the sitting also free from a lot of thinking. All those thinkings are gone, and then the mind can able to calm down. So this one, it's a very useful way. I find it very useful for me, at least. But not many teachers. What I would say that they are keen on noticing the higher than the steps. Nothing above the ankle. Nothing above the. They just want to notice on the steps only, on your movement of your feet, or the steps that you touch on the floor. In the beginning part of during my meditation, in the beginning part, I used to do that. I used to do that. But later on, I still do it. But later on, I use the principle of there's a primary object and there's secondary object. Just like in a sitting. Sitting, we have a primary object, rising, falling, in breath, out breath. Usually those are the primary object. And then other secondary object like your pain, itchiness and so on, those are the secondary object. Thinking and so on, those are secondary object. So too in the walking meditation also the same thing. There are primary object and there are secondary object. So at times the secondary object will be very useful, especially like reducing that effort. Reducing that effort. So once you're able to reduce that effort, make sure that your mind is begin to calm, and then gently you begin to slow down your face again. You gently slow down your face. And then it goes slower. At that time, your mind is more balanced. So if you feel that you're not ready yet, that means you're not ready yet. So it's more like learning how to feel the whole walking itself. It's a technique. These are great techniques. Now, during the walking also the same thing. At times, the mind fluctuates. The energy, the concentration, they all fluctuate because of they are the nature of arising and going and coming and going, and sometimes they are not so optimal. They go fluctuate. And if you don't change, especially during in the walking, when things are fluctuate, when the mind is fluctuate, but your walking meditation still at the same speed, then you are asking for trouble at times. So if you're a more better meditator, a more advanced meditator, if you have more time in meditation, sometimes what we can do in the walking meditation is that we don't bother about whether this is first phase, second phase, third phase, first step, second step, third step. You kind of like you push it all out. Then you walk according to how the mind is like. Instead of you are the one who dictate, okay, now I want to do first phase. Now I want to do second phase. Now I want to do third phase. They don't you put everything aside. You just walk. Walk itself. If the mind feel wants to go slow, and then you go slow. If your mind want to go fast, then you go fast again. Then you want to go slow again, you go slow again. As if like you are to let the mind flow on its own, and then the body is moving accordance to how the mind is flowing. So far, get what I mean or not? This is you don't try it if you feel a beginner, Your mind, you can't even see already, you want to flow with it. You don't try it in the beginning. If you're a beginner, you start off with, okay, this is right step, left step, right step, left step. This is good. This is good. If you are a beginner or you think that you are still a beginner, that is good. But if you are more advanced, something that you can try is that let the mind dictate the walking itself. Then here when the mind let it dictate how the walking is moved, then you'll find that sometimes it goes slower, sometimes it go faster, sometimes you note this object, sometimes you note that object. It flows, the whole object is keep on flowing. Then it's very interesting actually. And the whole experience of the walking meditation, as if like you don't want that walking meditation to finish. Yeah. And you feel light and you feel easy. And that is to say that the whole mind comes into an optimum level, into a balanced level. Yeah? So a lot of we can do with the walking. But right now, of course, when you are at home, how are you going to walk? If there's a family members around you, you walk already fast, slow, then very, very slow. Your other family members may think that you are something wrong with you. I think you listen to that monk too much already, this then your problem. If you stay alone, then okay, then that's not a problem. You can do whatever that you want. But if you're staying with a family members, it's going to be very hard. And also when you're at home, also you do not have the length, you don't have a place for you to walk, full of things here and there. Anyway, this is something to do with the walking meditation. And it's very helpful, usually the walking meditation, in order to reduce the effort and so on. And when it comes into the concentration also, this method, exactly this method also will take place. Sometimes when you are doing meditation, walking, sitting, the mind goes into haywire. You do not know whether this is too much concentration or too much effort or under concentration. It just go haywire. As if like the mindfulness and everything is not in the, they are not balanced. They are totally imbalanced and totally do not know. You just do not know what to do. This is the time you got to what they call reset. Sometimes also like our computer, when it gets all these funny things coming out and then you do not know what to do, then what do? You press the reset button. Or you restart the computer again. So too in meditation, also the same thing. We restart everything. You just bring the mind back to the body again and take the bigger object, like the whole body or the whole leg, especially in the walking, and then you start all over again. If you're a more advanced yogi, if you do like that, very fast the mind comes down. It rebalances everything. And then you gently build it up again. Then after that, it goes into a lot of proper balance again. In a short time, actually. It's not, you don't have to wait for long. So sometimes yogis tend to which one is too much? Which one is too little? What to do? Sometimes you do not know what to do. You push everything aside. Just back again to the body. Because when you back again to the body, you come back with the mindfulness on the body and you take a larger object, build up the mindfulness again. Then everything, all the faculties will come back again in the balanced manner. So too like when you are in the sitting posture. During in the sitting posture also, when you are meditating, especially when you're taking this vipassana, and again, there's mind that starts to a lot of the thoughts starts coming in or the tension coming in. Then same principle also like the walking meditation. Then this time you forget about your primary object. Then take the whole body from head as if like you have a mental vision of your shape of your body is there. Right? Your head is there, your shoulder is there, buttock is here, the thighs is here. Then you kind of like you notice what is going on with the whole body. Then just gently up, or down, or sometimes some people just like they go down a few times. While you are doing it, when you're scanning through or when you're sweeping through the body, and then try to feel some sensation that is built up around the body or in the buttock area. Just gently feel it. You need to feel the sensation because those sensations, when you feel it, it arouses that mindfulness. Gentle, that means you are reducing all your faculties, but slowly you build up that mindfulness again. With the noticing some sensation or pressure here a bit, these are the how we notice, build up that mindfulness. Yeah? All right, now let's see what else we can do. Sitting and touching. Sitting and touching here, this method here is more like you increase the calm with mindfulness. You're increasing the calmness with mindfulness. Say, for example, again, you are having a lot of thinking is coming in, the random thinking is coming in. Okay? You do not know what to control, how to control them. So what do you do then? Again, forget about your rising and falling or your main primary object. This time, you do a sitting and touching method. Now, some of you, if you're not in the retreat, the retreat kaki, you're not a meditation, match in the meditation, then this sitting and touching, you take it very lightly. Just like a lot of times they take the walking meditation very lightly. You just only want to know the primary object. And this is, your meditation become very narrow. One of the very good, another aspect of meditation in the sitting is using this sitting and touching method. This sitting and touching method, for some places, it's a meditation on its own. They do for 1 hour using this sitting and touching method. There are meditation centers in Burma who do this sitting and touching method for the whole hour. They don't take up the rising, falling, or in breath, out breath as the primary object, but the sitting, touching as the primary object. Now, anyway, since we are doing here, this sitting and touching, it's a very good aspect in the sense that you can use it when concentration is too much or your effort is too much. You can arouse it in one way, or you can reduce another thing in another way. So this sitting and touching is a very flexible way. Say, for example, here, we want to increase the concentration or we want to increase the calm with mindfulness using a sitting and touching. When you want to increase calmness or increase concentration, then your mind has to stay with an object for a longer period of time. Okay? You need to stay with the object for a longer period of time. We want to bring in a little bit of samatha also here, a bit of samatha aspect here. Not to say that you develop into jhana, but a little bit of samatha aspect here. Here, for example, you take a sitting, touching. Let's say you take your hands. I think last week I talked about it a little bit, but let me elaborate a little more. Now, let's say you're taking your hands when you're meditating, you put your hands in this way. And then here you can feel the touch. You can feel the touch. So what do you do then? The thoughts are going through. Then this time you just bring your attention, stays with the thought. Stays with the touch. Stay with the touch and not just touching. You kind of like gentle with the noting. You kind of like slow down the labeling itself, like touching. At the same time, you feel the sensation. You take notice of the hardness or sweatiness or the warmness of that particular touch that you this one. Take notice about 2 or 3 sensations. And then you keep on noticing touching. So you may need to stay there and label it for maybe around 10 times, 12 times, up to you. As long as you can able to pick up certain sensation. Now, picking up that sensation is the mindfulness aspect of it. You're able to notice the sensation, a warmness, sweatiness. That is the mindfulness aspect of it. Then if you stay with the object, like you stay with that touching, then that is the concentration aspect of it. So both have to come together. If you don't do it properly, you will just notice touching, 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 but you notice everything. Touching, 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 but your mindfulness is getting lower, then you still not touching, touching. Then slowly, your whole energy will start to reduce, and then it reduces too much. When you reduce too much, and then your mind gets stuck in the touching, and then because of your effort is reduced too much, and then that's where your sloth and torpor starts to come in. Your sleepiness, your non-clarity of your mind will start coming in. So this one you got to be careful. You got to build that two together to come in order for the mind able to work again. Then after you notice that touching, you feel like you want to bring your attention to the right buttock, let's say. Again here, sitting, and then you notice while you are bringing the attention there, stay there for 10, 12 times, 15 times of labeling. While you're labeling, noticing the sensation, a little bit of pain, a bit of warmness, a bit of tension here and there that's building up on that buttock area. This is how you do a sitting and touching in the sense of balancing the faculty. Sometimes in other settings, the sitting and touching will go faster. Pick up the things faster. At this one, because you want to bring up the concentration, it needs to be slower, gentle, and yet at the same time, you pick up that sensation. As I said, everything is in the mind only. The night one, nothing, and you can't see much outside until, it's your walking. But in the sitting one, there's nothing much. Everything is balanced in the mind only. Sometimes when people talk about Majjhima Patipada, the middle path, they talk about the middle path in the sense of Noble Eightfold Path, which is correct. But you don't realize that how much Noble Eightfold Path is happening when you're trying to balance everything. When you're in the optimum level, that means your path is in a balanced manner. When you try to balance everything, when you try to balance everything, then you see that when it's come to the optimum level, then only you realize how deep a noble path, those Noble Eightfold Path can go. Not just in the study, but everything is in the mind. How you balance those things. I made a lot of realization during this type of meditation to me. The Noble Eightfold Path is not just in what you study only, but it's really happening in the mind, especially on the Vipassana level. You can really see the balancing part, the middle path of it. Okay, next one. Anapanasati, or even rising, falling also can do. Rising, falling also can do. This one again, just like the principle of you want to increase the concentration with mindfulness, you use anapanasati. Let's take anapanasati first, right? Let's say your main primary object is the rising and falling. But this time you notice that your thoughts starts coming in already. So you put the rising, falling aside, everything aside, and then you go just to anapanasati. In breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. At the same time, follow the in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. The nature of anapanasati, the nature of the in breath, out breath, because it is a more subtle object compared to a rising, falling, then it's easier for the mind to remain calm. That's why it's very, very helpful. But a lot of time people, as I said again, because it's a subtle and more calm object, and then they overshoot the whole thing, they can become too calm. We just want you to be calm enough in order to reduce that thinking. Once the thinking finish, and then we go back to the main object again. Also can. Or if you are in breath, out breath, you take it as your main object in your vipassana meditation. Then again here, you use the secondary object like your rising, falling as to hold back to this one. Because when you're so used to it, then it doesn't work. You got to change to another object which is moving while you are sitting. So the next object that is moving is the rising and falling. So the rising and falling also can be very helpful to those yogis also. Sometimes even if you are a rising, falling as your main object, sometimes if the thinking is already too much, then you gently bring it back to the rising and falling and stay with the rising and falling. Don't worry whether it's long or short, just breathe. Let it rise, let it fall, like a reset again. So that also can be helpful. That also can be helpful. So again here, you see, now again here, all these things, it may not be that interesting if you are not a meditator. And also if you are a meditator and you're not meditating right now, so it's not that interesting. It's only when you are really in the practice, as I said, these things become very interesting and a very important topic. This topic, as I said again, this topic you need to be in the 2 or 3 weeks into the retreat already. That means your retreat maybe 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 1 year, then this one will be so much important for all of you. If you come in like, Bhante, I go for 3 days, Bhante, ho liao, okay, not to say you're bad, but you still won't come into this area. You thought that you go for 10 days retreat, or you're good, or you go for 2 weeks retreat, you think you're good. You still haven't really touched on this area yet. All these things. So it's important that for you to understand that this one, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, a lot of training, a lot of trial and error, again and again for you to able to sort of like able to balance all these things. Even when you are an arahant, let's say like you practice until arahant, you still need to balance on, There's no such thing as everything, the whole mind is always in a state of balance. No, it's wholesome factors is still remain impermanent. It's just the unwholesome one are eradicated. So the arahant still need to balance the thing. Now, lacking of mental effort, with this time is too much concentration. I'm not going to talk about this yet because we're going to save it for the next talk when we talk about, we're going to touch into concentration. Here, as I said, this time when you are lack of mental effort, that means too much concentration when you are in a long retreat, when you are in a long retreat. But if you are in the beginning of a retreat, this doesn't work, Lacking of mental effort also means that you are lacking of concentration, also means that you are lacking of mindfulness. Understand or not? If you are a beginner in the practice or you are in the beginning of the retreat, the equation is not right anymore. Everything is lacking. But when you are in the 2 or 3 weeks or longer, lack of mental effort, that means the too much concentration is one of the things is going to be there. So here we're going to look into those things again in a talk or two or three to go. And then later part, also we're going to consolidate this into, sometimes the walk, the effort and concentration and how it blends together in the proper manner. That one later, we'll talk about it later. So next talk, we're going to look into concentration already. Okay? All right. So enough for the night. Okay, let's share merits.